All right, guys, let's welcome Diamond and Josh from Tetrarch back to the Talk Toomey podcast. New single. We'll start with that. Live, Not Fantasize. Josh, go ahead and start us off with that, man. Talk about, writing, recording, all that good stuff about this one.
Yeah, that song, it kind of started as a kind of a silly like demo. Honestly, I remember Diamond kind of showed me the intro riff, and it was just kind of she's like, is this silly? Is this like, does this sound like us? And
I
I
believe
just
my
remember,
correct words were, is this dad? Like,
yeah,
it was like,
you're like, is this dad and is this bad? I think was what you asked me, and I was like, it's endearing. And it was just like there was something about that riff, the intro, it just kind of had a little nice headbang to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And we had, I don't know, when we went to the studio at Diamond, how many songs do we have? Like
we
25,
had
30
close to like,
songs
probably like,
at least,
yeah.
if not more. And it was just one of them that kept like making, each time we would go through a cut of cutting down, trimming down the songs, it just kept kind of making its way. And as we started building it and, started writing vocals, and Diamond started adding those leads and sounds and everything, it really started to form into a Tetrarch song. And it just kind of came out of nowhere to be one of our favorite out of the batch that we did. And I think a good introduction to kind of where we're heading as a band.
Yeah, Diamond, talk about the solos. The one thing, every time I've listened to the song, like every time those solo sections come up, it's just like, that's nice. That's tasty. It's some tasty solos, Diamond. So talk about them.
Yeah, no, I say it all the time. Like, it's weird because, like, we have that nostalgic, like, new metal type of sound. And when we were coming up, a lot of those bands, a lot of our favorite bands and influences and stuff like that, they didn't have like guitar solos. So it was something that I had to try to figure out how to learn how to do and write a guitar solo that's cool, that's memorable, but also like kind of fits that vibe, and it was like that was the biggest like challenge, I think, starting with the last record was just like, okay, how do I write a solo and make it sound cool and maybe like a little weird to where it fits what we're doing and what Tetrarch sounds like, but still like it sounds like a guitar solo. So like with this one, it was really cool. I think from the last record, I kind of learned what that is and what that sounds like, at least what I wanted to sound like. So when it came to writing this, I knew I was like, okay, I want it to be a solo that once again has some weird textures to it. It has a little bit of a catchy vibe. Like it doesn't have to be, necessarily super flashy, but something really cool and unique sounding. And so I'm stoked with how it came out. Like it was during one of our breaks at the studio when we came back home to LA for a bit, where I wrote that one. And I remember when it was done, I was like, hell yeah, I kind of kicked ass on this, you know what I mean? And I never say that. So like, I love that solo. I just think it fits really cool. And I think it's something, it's like unique to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I hear lead guitar players or guitar solos that sound like that. And that's like a super cool to me. That's like one of my favorite parts about it.
Is that a whammy pedal in there? Was that a
Yeah.
dime bag influenced? I think Dime would be proud of you for that one.
Thank you. Yeah, no, a lot. It's funny because like when I think back, he's like, obviously people hear like the Korn influence, but when I think back, I think he was on the song
Becoming.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever heard a whammy, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but I think that's the first time I ever heard it. So a lot of people say to me like, oh, there's some dime in there. And I'm like, I think it was because we started adding those like creepy leads to songs, like those Korn melodic, like really creepy melodies. But when I went to start writing solos for this stuff, I was like, I wanted to still sound like me, and I do a lot of that. So how can I get this into these guitar solos too? And that whammy was a big part.
Yeah, the solo's almost got like two sections to it, to where like the first half's got the whammy stuff, and then the second half has got the the finger tapping, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely turns your attention when that comes up.
Yeah. I'm glad people are stoked on it, because I definitely was.
Oh yeah, when she sent the first rough idea of that solo, I was like, man, this is sick. It has like all parts of Diamond. I love that it's a good long solo, which you don't hear a whole lot in our genre anymore. And
oh yeah,
I think she crushed it.
I think that's what throws you off, because you just don't hear like true guitar solos very often. And like you know, like I said, with the dime stuff, with the finger tapping, it's like a full on, you know, 80s, 90s guitar solo, which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Lyrically, man, I was checking out the lyrics before we jumped on, so just kind of dive into those, man. I'm assuming if it's similar to the video, it's just kind of like growing up wanting to be, you know, a musician, be on stage and things like that. So is that kind of the gist of the song?
I think that that has a definite influence in what we've, you know, gone through coming up through our career. The main idea of it is just kind of not letting negative, whether it's negative thoughts or negative things going on around you in your life or others, not letting that. That's where that line, "not defined by the state of my mind," comes from. Is not letting that negativity be what you believe is who you are. It's kind of just not letting that define you. So lyrically, it's just about, you know, take one step forward, keep moving, keep having, tell yourself you're fine, fake it if you have to, and by doing that, you can eventually come out on the other side and kind of, you know, find somewhere that you can. You know, you feel like yourself, or you feel like you've come out the other end and everything is looking up. So it's kind of like just keep moving. Don't let negativity kind of stop you.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing to do these days, especially with like social media. And I'm assuming, you know, every time you guys put anything out, there's a 9,000 positive comments, but that one negative, you're just like latch onto it. You're like, why? You know, you almost want to argue with that one and not thank the others.
That would probably be me, but
Usually, though, when you argue with the people, they end up turning the story around. They're like, "Oh no, actually, what I was saying was I actually really liked the song.
Right,
I
I'm a
was
big
trying to
fan.
help you."
I think a lot of times people don't expect you to like say anything or react. So we've learned over the years, like if you just reply and you're just like, "Hey man, you know, sorry I don't like the song, but we appreciate you checking it out," or whatever the issue they're having is, they'll usually write back and be like, "Oh no, I was just being silly. Like it's actually pretty." They're just trolling most, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I read a comment actually before we jumped on where someone was just like, I like the old stuff because it sounded more like Linkin Park. This sounds like Rob Zombie. And whoever, you know, from the Tetrarch account just posted, you know, hey, you know, maybe not, this one's not for you. Sorry.
Yeah. It's like, you do know we write more than one song, right? Like,
Right.
Let's talk about the video and then we'll dive into a few other things. Obviously getting put into boxes and things like that. I don't know if that's metaphorical or not. And then obviously the kid's room, I'm assuming probably looked a lot like, you know, all of our rooms back then, posters on the wall, the old computer, you know, diving into, you know, just the internet itself. And then, when he actually goes into I'm assuming the internet kind of looks like my search history, a little Tetrarch, you know, girls in cages. You know, like you gotta watch what's what the search history is there.
Yeah, so we actually we always know, like when we do music videos, we like them to be, we're not like the warehouse band or the like green screen band.
Right.
At least not, we haven't done a green screen yet. And that might once again come from some of our nostalgic influences, but we just really like videos that have like kind of a storyline and a lot of textures and like actual like like actual like settings, like he's actually in a bedroom, or like if we're doing it in a, you know, I don't know, you know what I mean, like we like to actually be in those places and like make it look very realistic. So we knew we wanted to do that again, like we've done in some in the past. So when I started talking to Vicente, who is the director, we were talking about like, hey, obviously we always like that feel, that realistic but kind of nostalgic feel, and like we kind of talked through some ideas. The way the box ended up in there and then the like what we call the freak room is like two very different things. Like the box I had seen, and we wanted to kind of be like almost like we're like a specimen, like, you know, like in like this like glass jar. But then also we wanted to tie it in with like this guy who gets pulled into this like freak world, you know what I mean, of
Right.
like all of his fantasies or whatever. So They just we ended up just being able to tie them together and being like, hey, let's do the performance in this box. And they ended up just working really well and adding some good texture to the video and to the performance part of the video. So it was just kind of a happy accident there. But yeah, basically you hit the nail on the head. We wanted it to be this guy. He's kind of like an outcast, he's, just feels like he doesn't fit. And he's at home. He gets some kind of like invitation on his computer. He ends up going to this place where a lot of people might think is like a nightmare of a place, but really it's where he ends up feeling the most comfortable, hence the euphoric look on his face at the end. And, that's basically the gist of it. You hit the nail on the head. So yeah.
How was being on set with everybody? Any good stories, anything like that? All those extras running around?
It is just the set days they're so long, but they're fun too because you're getting to see your vision and everything come together. It's always, I don't know, it's just a good time. We don't, there's nothing ever bad goes on set. It's all just good vibes, good energy. We're very hands-on too as a band. I know me and Diamond a lot of times we'll step in and be like, hey, can we maybe not make love to the birdcage?
Yeah, because
just be a little creepier.
There was a time where Josh had to go in there and was like, okay, can we cut some of the sexy? There's too much sexy going on. Like, like we have to so we're very hands-on with that kind of stuff. So the days are really long because, not only are we like waiting around to do our part to perform, but we're also like, we have to be very like attentive to what's happening.
Yeah.
Or we're going to end up with who knows what. So it's really long days, but it was cool to see everyone come in, all the extras come in, and we obviously gave everyone, directions of what they were supposed to dress like. I think he sent out the call sheet and it was like mall goth, essentially. It's like what he told everyone they need to look like. So it's cool to see everyone come in and like see them put it together in their own way. You know what I mean? So that was awesome. And everyone was really cool. Everyone was really nice. Had a good time. It was a long 2 days. So, but yeah, it was just fun. It was fun. It's like he said, it's fun to see it all come to life, and so, yeah.
So kind of going back to the latest single, I'm assuming, we're kind of heading towards a full album like you talked about or whatnot. So talk about just getting the producer together, getting the songs together, and kind of, going into the studio and whatnot over the last, I guess, when did all this process start for the new album?
We went into the studio to do new songs starting in June or July of 2023. And then we finished up in June of 2024. So it was basically a
Wow.
year. But yeah, we just were like, we took about I feel like we tracked like 19 bare bone songs or something like that. It was something 18, 19. And then we just dwindled them down. When we went in, we just had a lot of like basic songs, like in true Tetrarch fashion, just basic songs where we went in and like hashed them down to the best ones and then really put everything we had into those. So it's been a long process, but we never like to like put a time limit, which can be a good and a bad thing. But we don't like to put a time limit on ourselves in the studio because we don't want to like ever get out and be like, damn, we should have done this, or you know what I mean? Or I wish we had done this, or we would like to get out and be like, okay, we did. And there's always gonna be a little of that, but we like to get out and be like, okay, we did the best we could. We used all the time that we needed and we love what we have. So, so yeah, it was kind of that. And like I said, we haven't announced any kind of record yet, but like the new batch of songs is just very like, I don't know. It's like, it's Tetrarch 100%, but like very big choruses on this thing and just very catchy, and just expanding on what we've done as a band and getting better at it,
Yeah. I know it was definitely when you have a year of actually, because we were writing, long before that too. But when you're actually in the studio for the better part of a year, it's crazy seeing how songs do come together and how they can change or not change. Like I was just going through, like even just the demo for Live Not Fantasize, I found on my phone the other night, and I was just like, let me see how much this one changed. And that was a song that, like, instrumentally and even vocally didn't change a whole lot from like once it was initially the ideas put down. And then you'll have songs where we drive our producer Dave crazy, where we record a whole song and then 2 weeks later, like, hey Dave, so that song, we're gonna keep this part and then we're gonna rewrite a whole song around it in a completely different way. Like we're just.
And what's really nuts about it and funny is like in the beginning, he would be like, I just don't think that's a good idea, blah, 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 and then it got to the point where we would come back after 2 weeks of a break or something, be like, hey, we rewrote this whole song. And he's like, oh, okay, completely different. We'd be like, yeah, he'd be like, okay. Like he was just so used to it at this point that he
down
just
so much.
Yeah, he just rolled with everything. So
it usually was for the better for the most part. When we would come back and change something, it was like, all right, that was the right. We're glad we did that,
Yeah.
Well, at least you don't get stuck in like demo-itis where you're like, you keep wanting to go back to the original rough draft, and you can actually let yourself expand a little bit. I was thinking about this today. Were you guys worried over the last year and even more, just kind of going away to record, are you like, oh God, are people going to forget about us? Are we, will we be like that 80s glam band that went into the studio as Nevermind comes out and completely wipes out the music scene? You know what I'm saying? Like there's got to be tons of those stories where those bands were on the verge of something, and then all of a sudden, Nirvana and Metallica Black Album comes out and just destroys everything. You guys get a little worried about that? Are you like that where you feel like you just a little nervous, hoping people remember when the next album comes out?
You're always like, feel a little anxious, but at the same time, I think we're more knowledgeable than that of how a lot of things work. And we've seen several bands, go away and come back with great records. And they're the biggest they've ever been. You see bands like, and I'll take another band, for instance, like in a different scenario, but a band like Kitty or something, who literally just disappears for 20 years and like, they're back in the biggest they've ever been. So I say that to say like, yeah, you're anxious because you're like, man, we have this momentum. Like, we want to ride that wave. But at the same time, it's also all about the music, and people will be there. Like, as long as you're putting out quality stuff, and I think we know our fans, and we're very tapped into like what's going on in the Tetrarch world, that I think we knew we'd be all right. You know what I mean? And we tried to stay in contact too, and always let people know, like, we're working on music. We're not like away working at McDonald's or something. Like, I swear we're like, we're working on music. We're in the studio. We got some cool plans, and
a lot of big things coming posts.
Yeah, which luckily ours aren't fake. But like,
right.
I think that's helpful too, to just try to stay in contact a little bit, but at the same time, I've seen it enough to where, bands go away and write a record. And I think also in today's day and age, it's very saturated. Like, overexposure is like the way to go. And I think like in the years past, bands used to like tour for 2 years straight. And then they'd go away for a year and make a record. And then they tour for 2 or 3 years straight. And then they go away a year. And I think people aren't used to that anymore. Like, now people are like, no, you make a record while you're on tour and we never not want to see you. You know what I mean? But I think at some point you got to like focus a little bit on your music on the record so you can make a good product for everybody.
I'll ask the signature guitar question this way. I'll start it with Josh. Josh, how did you feel when Diamond hits you up and says, hey, Jackson's going to make me my own guitar, my own signature series guitar? And you think about, do you go back to those high school days and like, oh my God, we talked about this stuff when we were kids and now it's all coming to fruition, things like that. How did you feel for your friend Diamond?
100%. I was probably a bigger cheerleader and had more excitement and belief in this than even Diamond did. Like I was so stoked when I heard it. Like I was just like, because I do remember, Diamond getting a Kirk Hammett, signature guitar, a Dimebag Daryl, Dymo Flame. And we would always, when signature guitars would come out, we'd be like, oh, it'd be so cool to have one. What would we do if we had one? We would always just talk about that. And I think the coolest thing to me is that, and I told her that yesterday, is like, we were inspired by guitar heroes and people that played guitar, and now she gets to be that for somebody else, for a kid coming up that maybe they were gonna be a DJ, which there's nothing wrong with that. DJs are sick too, but maybe they were like, well, who is that? Oh, she seems really cool. I could do that. And they pick up a guitar and play. And, I just think that that's really cool. So I was honestly just stoked. I've been stoked for her, and it's been so hard to wait for it to actually come out and to be able to talk about it.
Right.
But yeah, it's super sick.
Nice. And yeah, Diamond, I see the subtle flex in the background with the Jackson box, the shipping box. You're like, oh,
no. Those are, I'm giving some gifts away this weekend. I'm really excited. There's two lucky people I get to give to. So
that's awesome. So Diamond, talk about, when you get hit up and saying, hey, we're going to do a custom signature guitar. Do they come to you with designs like, hey, here are a few designs we're thinking, or do you have a lot of input, where we're going to start?
So this process, Josh has been there since the beginning of this process. This process probably started 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it was, it's been a long time, because I know Jackson has really been trying to get me to play Jackson for 7 years, probably, since, for a very long time. And, I was happy with where I was. Like I didn't, but when they came to me, I guess they were like, okay, we got to bag Diamond, but they came to me and they were just like, look, we want to do this signature model with you. And that was when I really sat down and started thinking about it. And I talked to Josh about it and everything. And he was always like, this is a history making thing. You got to do this. Like, I don't, so I really started talking to Jackson and loved all their, plans. And it just really aligned with where I wanted to go as a guitar player and the type of guitar player that I wanted to be. So we just started designing the prototype, and, it was with Peter Witchers is who works over there. And, I worked closely with him just designing it. And they gave me free reign on pretty much everything. I knew, obviously, I always have played single cuts or Les Paul shapes. So obviously I knew that their Monarch shape was going to be what I used. But other than that, and other than me saying yo, I want to change the headstock, or Josh telling them for me that I wanted to change the headstock, they let me do that. And it's been awesome. They didn't give me any pushback on anything. It was literally what I want. And it was easy though, because I'm a don't fix what's not broken type of person. So most of the specs that I play now are what I played when I was 12. You know what I mean? And what I've been touring with since we started touring. That's what's comfortable to me. And I feel like it wouldn't make any sense for me to make a signature guitar that wasn't that, wasn't what Diamond actually loves to play. So it's pretty easy to spec it out and everything like that. So it was a long process, because, they send you a prototype, and then you get your once you prove that, you get your production model samples to make sure those are cool. But it was exciting. It's really exciting. And I feel really honored to be here. So
yeah. And you continue to seem to be breaking down doors. I mean, every time I turn around, you're the first female this, you're the first person of color, female person of color that, it's always something. It's always every time I turn around, there's something new with Diamond that you're the first to do a lot of things. So just kind of talk about that. I mean, is there a lot of pressure with that? Is it just awesome to do that? Or are you just I'm just me and this is what I do and I just happen to be,
100%. I think I would feel a lot of pressure if it wasn't that. For me, it's just me being driven by the passion to do something that I really love since I was 11. I'm obsessed with heavy music and obsessed with the guitar, and I have been since the day I found it. And so like I've always just wanted to be like Head or be like Mark Morton or be like Kirk Hammett. You know what I mean? Like since I was a kid, like because I loved heavy music so much and loved playing guitar. So as these things happen, like and these barriers are broken down or whatever people call them, it's like I feel honored because it's just me being genuinely me. You know what I mean? And being the diamond I've always been. I didn't have to like fabricate this person or, anything like that. It just is who I am. And people just took notice, and they took notice even before I think I did. Josh knows better than anybody. I used to just people would be like, oh, this, like, even when we were playing bars, when we were like 13, or 15 or whatever, like people would flock in the room and just like be so intrigued by the fact that I'm soloing, or like I was playing the Master of Puppets solo when we used to cover that song.
There we go.
And I would just be like, I don't really get that. I'd be like, hell yeah, it's sick that like they come watch our band. But I'm like, I don't really get this whole like, oh, she's a black chick. Like, cause I just I wasn't there mentally. I was just like, hell yeah, I want to.
Yeah, you just wanted to be a guitar player. Like,
yeah, I just wanted to be a guitar player. And so I think later down the road, Josh or somebody might have said to me, like, I mean, it is kind of like, a unique thing, diamond, and I was like, okay, I'll give you that, I guess, as we got a little older. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't a fabricated thing, nothing like that. It's just something that's happening with me being me and growing in our career.
Right.
And I'm really like I said, I feel honored. I'm very humbled by it. I just think it's super cool. It's stuff I dreamed of, since we were so young. So
yeah, and it definitely it has never come off gimmicky. I will say that. Like that's the one thing that you can tell you're in it. You're in it for all the right reasons. It's not just a gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it would be sick to be hot. But I think it's really cool that like that, I never could lean on that really. It just was always like I was just like I wanted to be good and I wanted to get on stage. Even if I was like the most fit person in the world, I'd still probably throw on like a big t-shirt and some skinny jeans with holes, and I would just, like that's what I just want to, play metal. Like that's what I love to do. So it's cool. Like I've always just gotten up there and just been that,
she wants to be our drummer. She wants to be our drummer, Ruben, basically.
I always say that. I'm like, Ruben, if I was as little as you, I would dress just like you.
Well, I was going to say the only one leaning on their hotness would be Josh. So,
So I got this hoodie on.
So I got this hoodie on. Well, just kind of talk about, I mean, I guess, we haven't announced a record yet, but I'm assuming, are we going to trickle out songs, or we gotta, just kind of 2025 is that everything kind of points to 2025 is what I'm seeing. So that's what I'm kind of going to take from all this. Just blink twice if there's going to be a new album in 2025.
I'll say that we have enough songs that are recorded in a presentable fashion that could eventually, be something.
If you want, you're right.
If we wanted to lump them all together and make them a record,
we could
do that.
Possible. Yeah.
All right. Do we have shows coming up, or are you jumping on any festivals, anything like that for the rest of the year?
That's in the works. Our biggest goal was to get the single out. We need to get some new music out and everything like that. Now it's out. It's doing well. It's on Octane and everything's going awesome. So like now we can actually like focus on the touring aspect now that we've got the music aspect rolling again. So we've definitely started getting some offers and looking at those and stuff like that. So I would imagine soon there will be some shows and tour announcements.
Nice. Josh, when's your signature guitar coming out? Is there like a competition now? You have to.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do fully, imagine that it will happen. But I'm more so just excited for Diamond right now. That is one thing that I don't do is ever get jealous of things that come Diamond's way. Like I think it's cool because I just remember every step we've gone through, like as friends first and foremost, and then like as the band grows, like seeing those opportunities is really awesome. So I think I do know it'll happen. But for right now, I'm just excited for her. Like I was counting down to the days till yesterday for it to come out.
And wholeheartedly, it's just as much his signature as mine, because I definitely would not even have one if he wasn't here. So I definitely would not. So I say it's 50-50 on that one. Even if my name's on it.
She hasn't sent me one, so
well, there's a couple behind her. Maybe you can win whatever contest or whatever she's trying to do. I don't know if you're eligible or not to win the contest, but you can.
Some tells me I'll be able to get him one. It's fine.
I ended up sending it to my family anyways, so yeah.
Probably.
Nice.
His dad's always like, "When am I getting mine?" I'm like, "Soon."
You have to go down to Guitar Center and put it in order. The one thing, Diamond, I was watching a quick video, I guess, that Jackson put out where you were talking about you getting into guitar. And the one thing I loved about it was you said there was no real plan behind it. You just kind of said one day that I want a guitar, and next thing you know, you got a guitar. And I love that. That's pretty much how my life has been my entire life. You know, it's like when I was like, I think I'm gonna start a podcast, and then like I just ordered a microphone and started a podcast.
Like, yes, I never
I never sat down like you're supposed to and like got a plan together and I'm gonna release this and do that. I was just like threw it at it. And it's funny, if you went back to listen to episode 1, I never say, like, I never introduce who I am, never say this is what the podcast is going to be about. I literally say, this week on the podcast we have this person, and like I had an episode.
You've had like 30 other weeks on the podcast,
right? Like I was just like I just kept going. So yeah, I definitely felt that when you were talking about just like random, like I think I'll play guitar. Boom, guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I truly, and if I did, I just truly do not remember. But I distinctly remember being in the car just with my mom and being like, I swear, I just remember it being like the first time I ever thought of this. And I was like, we were listening to the radio station in Atlanta. And I don't know, she might have been bringing me home from school or something. I don't remember, but I just remember being like, I want to play guitar. And like, it just that. And she was just like, really? Okay. And like, just took me, and I just started lessons. Like literally that next weekend, it was my 12th birthday. I started my first lesson. And it was like, it's weird. It's like one of those things where I'm like, I just truly feel like I was supposed to play guitar because of that, because of just like feeling like when I started playing, I never had like, I have so many friends who have been like, teach me how to play guitar. And like you put a guitar in their hands and instantly they go T-Rex. And I'm just like, I just feel like I've never had like that moment where it was like really awkward or like the guitar felt foreign or anything like that. It just felt really natural, and I held it naturally, and my fingers like were fluid. I always felt like, so it's crazy looking at all of that. I'm like, I just truly feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like I don't feel like there's anything else I'm supposed to do. And I love it so much. So like, it wasn't one of those things where I feel like I sat around for weeks and I'm like, what instrument do I want to play? Do I want to play drums? No. No, it was just like literally, I want to play guitar, So it's crazy. And like people are always like, no, you had to have. No, I swear that's how it happens,
Especially when you're 11 or 12. I mean, your
thoughts are fleeting anyways.
Because I started playing bass around when I was 11, and I asked my dad years later, what he thought about it. He goes, at that time you were you would be into this, and then you would be into that, and then you would be into this. So he was just like waiting to see if it took, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And that's why they got me, like when she took me to the music shop or whatever and got me just like I said, it was a knockoff Telecaster, like a cream colored knockoff Telecaster. It was a Johnson. That was like the name of it. It was like $115, $120 guitar. And, they did that just to see like, how long is she gonna stick with this? And I played that thing into the ground until like the knobs were falling off. So I think, that was the point of that guitar, but it just shows that like, I was a kid, I didn't know, like that it was a bad guitar. It just was a guitar to me, you know what I mean? And I love that thing. So yeah.
The story would be from Johnson to Jackson. There we go.
Wow. You do this for a living, huh?
Right. Yeah. I'm always listening for that blabbermouth headline. Don't get me wrong. Josh, I mean, same for you, man. Like what's your story into getting into music? into playing
For
guitar?
me, it started with my mom and dad were always just playing me music, all kinds of genres. My dad specifically got me into kind of like the more rock side of things. I mean, like his all-time favorite band is Pearl Jam. Probably seen them 40 times live, you know. He took me to see Metallica when I was 8 or 9 years old, and would just constantly show me videos of, you know, Metallica, Green Day, that kind of thing. And so I started, he always had guitars around, and there's actually like a picture where I'm like an infant and I'm like reaching out at his guitar, like,
Nice.
which is kind of funny. But we had an electric at the house, and I just decided that I would love to do that. And for me, it was always, I saw like the performers. I saw James Hetfield and I saw Billy Joe Armstrong, and I was like, "Oh, that looks amazing to be in front of all those people singing and performing." And they had guitars and sang, so I'm like, "Oh, I guess I should get a guitar and learn how to do that." And yeah, I just kind of started. I had a bunch of tab books at home, like I think Sweet Child of Mine. I think Inner Sandman was the first riff I learned, and then Sweet Child of Mine's intro. I don't
Nice.
think I learned a chord for like the first year. It was all just like riffs. I really didn't like a G or a D or anything like that. I had no idea. It was always
Yeah.
like riffs of songs.
Oh yeah.
And then just as time went on, I just kept playing and kept playing. And then obviously when me and Diamond finally started jamming together, and feeling that like playing with somebody else and playing guitar was just like the coolest feeling, and then it just never stopped from there.
Nice. It's funny you bring up Sweet Child of Mine. I was thinking about that when you guys were talking about Live Not Fantasize kind of being, is this silly? Is this goofy? Because the story of the Sweet Child of Mine intro was Slash was just goofing around trying to do like a circus music.
Yeah.
And it turned into Sweet Child of Mine. So I was like, the similarities there is uncanny. That's fun.
I feel like that always happens too, because like with our last record with I'm Not Right, single, Josh was on an acoustic guitar in the living room, windmilling his hair, like just playing an open chord and like saying "hate yourself" or something like that, just like in this silly voice. And like for some reason that just stuck with him. Like, and he did it for probably like an hour just to be annoying. Like that, that's literally how the song started, and it ended up just being a banger. And we were just like, it's crazy how you never know where a good song is going to come from. So you always gotta listen to it when it calls, I guess. But
I had Dino from Fear Factory on, and we were talking about writing songs, and he was talking about, you know, you hear that you're at a stoplight and you have your turn signal on, and it's like tick, 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 and he'll go, but you know, then he'll start writing a pattern over the turn signal or any patterns in life. He just writes songs, and like they do come from the weirdest places.
The lock sound in your car.
Oh yeah.
I have this weird lock. My lock in my car is broken, so like when I hit it, instead of just one sound, it does like a type sound. And so I think it even made it on the, we sampled it and it made it into a song.
It made it on the last album.
Yeah. So that tells you that the lock in my car is still broken from the last record, because I don't care enough to fix it. But anyways, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll do it. Anything else we need to get out there that I haven't covered yet?
Not that I know of. Just like we always say, you know, stay tuned. We have a lot of stuff coming, and I mean it. A lot of really cool stuff, a lot of shows and all that. So
we have more than one song.
And more than one song will be coming. So we're really stoked to see everybody again get back out there.
Nice. Well, I did want to end with, you know, the first time I saw you guys was like Devil Driver 36 Crazy Fist tour back in the day. So I mean, like seeing you guys then and then like what we've come to now, it's been amazing to kind of watch the trajectory.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we're just gonna keep moving from here. So we'll remember you from that Devil Driver tour, and hopefully next time we're talking it'll be, you know, Metallica tour or something.
Yeah, you definitely need a Metallica tour. We gotta get you on some of these stadium shows. I'm gonna have to go to Nashville for Metallica Limp Bizkit. I have to see that.
So. I know, that's gonna be rad.
It's gonna be too much fun. All right, well, Diamond, Josh, as always, fun to talk to you guys and gals, and you know, we will talk soon.
All right, thank you, Josh.
See you guys.
Josh and Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Every time you said Josh this whole interview, I'm like, what? What did I do? What did I, what?
And then when you just said it now, I'm like, well, yeah, of course I'm here. What are you...